G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome to the first video in my detailed series of guides on the heroes of the Storm hero, Jaina Proudmoore. In this series, I'll break down skills, builds, tactics, and strategies for playing this incredibly fun to play hero. By having guides covering at first the basics and later advanced builds and concepts, you'll be able to learn how to get playing and enjoying Jaina in some fun pickup games, and then later you'll be able to take things more seriously on the ladder. Now, Jaina is a ranged assassin and is themed heavily as a frost mage. She focuses on dealing damage, slowing, and freezing enemies. Jaina, I feel, is quite diverse and can be played a few different ways depending on the talents you take and how you combine them together. Some talent builds will focus on keeping the entire enemy team debuffed and taking more damage from your teammates, and other builds will focus on powerful spell combos to do very high burst damage. By virtue of being ranged and having lots of ways of slowing opponents, you can also carry in a sustained fight and prevent enemies from fleeing the battle or giving chase. Now, for the rest of this video, I'll be explaining how Jaina's traits and abilities work, as well as giving some advice on talents and usage of those abilities. So let's start off with the core trait of Jaina, because this really influences how the entire hero plays and how you build her. Jaina's trait Frostbite is very powerful, but mastery of its effects are not easy. Frostbite causes all of Jaina's core abilities to chill enemies, slowing their movement by 25% for 4 seconds. Slowed enemies also take 50% more damage from Jaina's ability. This 50% more damage is represented in-game with the crit text. As you can probably guess, the idea is to combo Jaina's abilities together to keep an enemy chilled and to maximize your damage output. Now, a 25% reduction in move speed might not sound like a lot, but it can make it very difficult for enemies to either pursue you, flee from you, and even avoid other attacks and get out of nasty area of effect skills. A good Jaina player will be able to keep the chilled status effect on enemies indefinitely with proper comboing of skills. This can even be done right from level 1 by using different cooldowns and skills together intelligently. An advanced guide on skill rotations and combos will be available in a later video. So now let's take a look at some of Jaina's abilities, with the first one, Frostbolt, on the Q key. This is a fairly long-range single target skill shot. It has a bit of a travel time, so you'll have to lead your target a bit to land a hit at long range. It will take some practice to use this skill reliably, but you will be rewarded with very high damage and the ability to kill escaping heroes very reliably. Like all of Jaina's abilities, this applies chill, and with the Ice Lance level 7 talent, which reduces its cooldown to 2 seconds when you hit a chilled target, you can chain Frostbolt against an enemy indefinitely. It's very satisfying to hit a fleeing enemy with 4 consecutive Frostbolts to finish them off. I can only imagine how frustrating it must be to be on the other end of that particular scenario. It's currently quite popular to build around this ability, as in addition to the Ice Lance cooldown reduction, you can also significantly increase the range with Winter's Reach and allow it to pierce the first target with Frost Shards. On top of this, with a level 13 ability, you can reduce the cooldown of Frostbolt to 1 second, giving huge DPS. To use this skill, you press Q and then aim with the mouse, followed by left click to fire. Remember to try and judge where your target will be when the Frostbolt reaches them. If you're not a trigonometry savant, then you will need to practice this a fair bit so that you can do it by instinct. And don't worry guys, I'm almost level 10 with Jaina and I still miss the easiest shots all the time. Now, Jaina's W key ability is Blizzard. By default, this skill calls down 2 waves of ice in a small area, about 2 heroes across. There is a short delay before the first wave, and then about a 1 second delay before the second wave lands as well. Each wave of Blizzard chills enemies, and without using any other skills, if both waves hit an enemy, the second will always be a crit. However, the best thing to do is often to hit the target with another ability first to chill them, as this will make it harder for them to avoid the area of Blizzard in the first place, and it will cause both waves to crit, increasing your overall damage. Because of the short delay before the first wave lands, this is a skill where you also must judge where your target will actually be when that first wave lands. It's a good idea to also try and use the full size of the AoE to ensure that both waves will hit. This means that if, for example, a target is committing to flee, then you want them to enter the AoE just as the first wave lands so that they still have to travel through the rest of the AoE and will be guaranteed to be hit by the second wave. In this sort of scenario, you force them to either take both waves of damage or turn around and face you, which if they've committed to fleeing is probably not a good idea. The Blizzard skill is also a popular skill to build Jaina around thanks to its high damage, large AoE, and excellent zoning potential particularly. Well-used Blizzards can make a huge difference in teamfights, and the skill can also instantly full clear a creep wave at higher levels. At level 4 you can increase the radius of Blizzard with the Snowstorm talent, and at level 13 you can increase your cast range with Stormfront, and then finally at level 16 you can add a third wave with the Snow Crash talent. All three of these combo together nicely to turn Jaina into a powerful AoE mage. Jaina's E key ability is the Cone of Cold. This skill blasts a single hit of damage in a small cone in front of Jaina. The skill deals the least overall damage of Jaina's abilities, but it is incredibly useful for comboing with other skills. Hitting enemies with Cone of Cold and following up with Blizzard is an excellent early game combo, for example. Where Cone of Cold really gets interesting in my opinion is how the different talents affect how you use it to combo. At level 16 you actually get the choice of 2 talents for this skill, between Northern Exposure and Numbing Blast. If you pick Northern Exposure, you'll always use the Cone of Cold first to maximize the damage of your follow-up skills and the damage from your team. However, if you take Numbing Blast, you'll instead want to use it after you've used another ability so that you can root the chilled target for a full second, so that you can then follow up with other abilities to finish the target off. If you are building around Cone of Cold's ability to combo, then at level 7 you can take the Ice Flows talent, which increases its width and gives it cooldown reduction, allowing you to use it more often. I haven't seen many builds purely based on Cone of Cold, but it's nearly always used in some fashion, and I think it can be very powerful especially in Blizzard-focused builds. So now let's move on to the exciting stuff, heroic abilities. Jaina's 2 heroic abilities are both, in my opinion, excellent, and which one you take can come down to build, strategic choices in the particular match, or personal preference. The first, Ring of Frost, I feel fits better into an AoE or zoning-focused build. After a short delay, Ring of Frost deals damage in a large area and then roots targets for a whopping 3 seconds. It will also linger and chill enemies in that area as well, so if an enemy enters after not being hit, it will still become chilled and you can follow up with other combos. There's obviously some excellent combo potential here, especially with the Blizzard skill, since Ring of Frost roots the target for the entire duration of the Blizzard. You can quickly bring a whole team to low health with Ring of Frost plus Cone of Cold plus Blizzard, and then finish off any stragglers with Frostbolts. The level 20 talent modifier for Ring of Frost adds extra zoning potential by creating a second blast in the center ring after the 3 seconds expires. This modifier I don't feel is very strong overall, but it can catch some enemies off guard, or at the very least discourage them from entering an area, and if your primary focus is to zone enemies, then this can be quite useful. However, most of the time I end up taking Bolt of the Storm for extra mobility on Jaina if I take this heroic. Jaina's other heroic ability is Summon Water Elemental. This ability deals a bit of damage in an area and chills enemies, and then summons a controllable pet water elemental at that same location. The water elemental has a basic attack with a small AoE splash that deals 25% of its damage to additional targets in the area, and it will also chill enemies on each attack. The water elemental can do a very good job at keeping chill up on multiple targets, and can chase fleeing targets very well thanks to that chill. The elemental itself can also act as a distraction since it has its own health bar. Because of its sustained damage and chills, enemy heroes will have to make a tough call on whether to focus the elemental down or continue to attack their preferred target. You can control the water elemental by using the R key. Pressing R and then clicking on the ground will tell the elemental to move in that direction. This can be really good for scouting ahead, blocking off enemies that might be coming up from behind you, or clearing the long grass that you can't see in. If you press R and then click a hero instead, or another target, the elemental will continue attacking that target unless it dies, expires its timer, or loses line of sight. A great use of this can be telling the water elemental to target a squishy assassin in a team fight. This pressures them, preventing them from dealing damage, and will often secure kills for you as well. The level 20 modifier for the Summoned Water Elemental Heroic is Wintermute, and it is insane! Oh my god, is it good. This talent causes the water elemental to mimic all of your abilities at 50% damage. The added burst damage of this is incredible, and also incredibly useful as you can be out of range but the water elemental might still be in range and able to hit with that last Frostbolt required to kill that pesky Nova who's just about to get away. Now the targeting of this does take some getting used to, but basically the water elemental will always target at your mouse cursor, though the point of origin of the spell will depend on your and the water elemental's positioning. So you want to take advantage of this sometimes as well. And that closes us out for this introduction to Jaina and the detailed look at her skills. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In future videos I will cover various builds for Jaina, skill comboing strategies, and I'll likely also share some gameplay commentaries full of tips. So if you want to continue the learning, then make sure to subscribe to catch those videos when they are uploaded. That's it for now, I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.